Good morning, Jerusalem. This is the eastern wall with the Golden Gate. This is the Kidron Valley, actually where the Pope had Mass 2 years ago. Jesus crossed the Kidron Valley, came here to the Garden of Gethsemane. This is the Church of All Nations, or the Church of the Agony, where Jesus prayed in sweat drops of blood. And these are the trees of the original Garden of Gethsemane, trees that are 2,000 years old. We are now going in for Mass. Some of these trees, like this one right here, are 2,000 years old. If they had ears to hear and a mouth to speak, they'd tell you what they heard there and saw 2,000 years ago when Jesus prayed in the Garden of Gethsemane.
Say amen, and that's it.
And what language is this?
Hausa.
From Africa.
Hausa from Africa, Nigeria. Cikin suna uba da nada da na ruhu mai tsarki, amin. Uba mu wanda ke cikin samaniya, a tsarkake sunanka, mulkinka shi zo, abin nufin ka zama a cikin duniya, kamar yadda ake yi sa cikin sama. Ka ba mu yau abinci ne, kamar yadda wanda ke cikin samaniya, a tsarkake sunanka, mulkinka shi zo, abin nufin ka zama cikin duniya, kamar yadda ake yi sa cikin sama. Ka ba mu yau abinci ini, kamar yadda muna gabatawa masu wannan laifi. Kar ka kai mu cikin jaraba, amma ka cice mu daga mugu. Amén.
En los cielos, santificado sea tu nombre. Venga a tu reino, haz tu voluntad, así la tierra como en el cielo. Danos nuestro pan de cada día. Perdona nuestras ofensas, como nosotros perdonamos a nuestros deudores. No los dejes caer en tentación, mas líbranos del mal. Amén.
Amen.
Amen. Lạy Cha chúng con ở trên trời, chúng con nguyện dân Cha cả sáng, nước Cha chỉ đến, ý Cha thể hiện dưới đất cũng như trên trời. Xin Cha cho chúng con hôm nay lương thực hàng ngày, và tha nợ chúng con như chúng con cũng tha kẻ có nợ chúng con. Xin chớ để chúng con sa trước cám dỗ, nhưng cứu chúng con cho khỏi sự dữ. Amen.
Pray the Our Father in my own language, right from the beginning when my mom taught me. Bapaचे, पुत्राचे आणि पवित्र आत्म्याच्या नावे. आमेन. आमच्या बापा सर्गींच्या, तुझे नाव पवित्र जावं, तुझे राज आमकां येवं, तुझी खुशी स्वर्गार जाता तशी संवसारांत जावं. आमचो दिसपडटो ग्रास आज आमकां दी, आणि आमी आमचे सुकलेल्या बक्षितांव. तशें आमची पातकां बगोस, आणि आमकां ताळण्यान पडोवन दिवं नाका, पूण वायटांतलें आमकां निवाड. आमेन.
between an ascension and an assumption. They're both going up.
One's passive and one's active.
Very good. Jesus has a rocket pack on his back, and he goes up by his own power. Up he goes. On his own power, he's on his way to glory. Mary is not God. She doesn't have the ability to do this. So Jesus assumes her. Assume is the passive version. You're brought up into heaven. So he brings her up. And Jesus ascends into heaven from this place. And that is all of our great hope, isn't it? That we will be taken up into heaven as well. And that he will come again. That's why everybody wants to be buried around here. They want to be buried. You see all these tombs, Christians, Muslims, Jews, because they know the Messiah is coming back, and when he comes back, every eye will see him. And just as he went up, he's going to come down again. In fact, the Jews have a tradition that even if they're buried somewhere else, they all want to be buried in Jerusalem for the day the Messiah comes, the resurrection of the dead. But they say that there's a tradition among the rabbis that if you were a Jew and you were buried somewhere else, that God will have tunnels under the earth, and those dead bones and bodies will shoot through those tunnels and all the way back here to Jerusalem so they can be raised from the dead in Jerusalem. I think I like that. I doubt it's the case, because he can raise them from anywhere. But I like the fact that they love Jerusalem and they believe the resurrection, and they want to be here when they're raised from the dead. So where did Jesus go when he ascended? They watched him go into a cloud, but then that's all they saw. They didn't see any more than that. Finally, they had to look back down. But if you want to know where he went, you go to the Old Testament, Daniel chapter 7, verses 13 and 14. And there it says, Daniel says, I was looking into the night visions, and I saw one like the Son of Man coming in the clouds. And he was presented to the Ancient of Days, to the Father. And he was given a kingdom which will have no end. This is where he went. He went back into the glory of the Father. Remember the cloud that came on Mount Tabor? That's the glory of God. The cloud on Mount Sinai, the glory of God. He went up back into the glory of God. And he was seated on a throne, presented to the Ancient of Days, who must have said, well done, my son. And he was given a kingdom which will have no end. One of my favorite things to do on the whole pilgrimage is to stand up here on the promenade with Jerusalem laid out like in the palm of our hand in front of us. You can see all the way from Mount Zion to the Mount of Olives to Bethany. And here I can explain the whole story of salvation from Adam and Eve through Abraham and King David all the way through the Messiah. We can see the whole story of Christ right here before our eyes. It's one of my favorite things to do, and takes about a half an hour, and people seem to really enjoy it. And after this, we went out for lunch, and then we're heading up to Mount Zion.